Hey folks, I'm here with Rainn Wilson, and we certainly know Mr. Wilson from a variety of different roles. He's in town to do something a bit different, and I wanted to see if we can talk to him a little bit about this. So welcome to Boston University Studios here at WTBU. Love to have you, and you've been a busy sort of guy. I understand you spent a little bit of time in and around Boston, maybe like 2-3 years ago at another university down the street.
2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
Listen to you. I had a sock you in the jaw. 1984-85, I did my freshman year at Tufts University.
Okay.
Yes.
And they took you away from that.
I was a jumbo.
A jumbo,
I was
that's
a jumbo
right.
for a while. No, I had to leave for a variety of reasons. But I had a great year and made some really great friends. I think you make tons of good friends your freshman year of college.
Sure,
that
sure.
kind of last with you your whole life experience.
Right.
And my mom lived in Salem for a long time, so I would go up there. I waited tables in Salem, Mass for a while. So I've been around.
Roughed it a bit, huh?
Yeah.
So look, a lot of folks know you certainly from things like The Office, and I think I first discovered you in Juno, actually. But I think a lot of folks also follow you for a real activist spirit that I think you've got. You're pretty engaged in a number of programs. I followed you a little bit when you were in Haiti, and some of the things you're writing about on Soul Pancake. I
Sure.
absolutely love that. Tell us a little bit about what you're involved in, what you're engaged in, and particularly this new project that brings you into town.
Sure. Well, you know, it's been kind of a gradual awakening for me. As I got well known for doing a TV show, I realized there was a tremendous opportunity here for me to do some good and make a mark in the world and, do something positive. And that's when me and my friends created Soul Pancake as a venue for people to discuss life's big questions in a new, fresh way. And that has led to me to kind of see in my life that there's an intersection between being an actor, being an artist, and being a humanitarian and being engaged in the world, and just being a thinker and making a difference. That there's, in our culture, we separate these things.
Right.
We have our work as one compartment, and our
Right.
spiritual faith is another department, and our hobbies and our friends and our family, and there's all these little boxes. And I think the goal is to they all become integrated, and one expression of who you are as a person. So that's kind of been my gradual journey.
Was there a particular moment that brought you there? Something that just kind of woke you up and made you say, I can do all this together, and I got to get involved in this?
There wasn't a lightning bolt or anything like that. It's just been, like I said, it's just been a gradual kind of awakening to, it's like, you get older and you're kind of like, what do I want to do with my life? It's like, okay, I've always wanted to be an actor. Okay, now I'm an actor on a hit TV show. That's awesome. But what else do I want to do?
Right,
and
right.
for me, it was always about, I just want to be a human being. I want to be the best human being I can possibly be. So how do I most fully engage with the world? And so that's one of the reasons that I'm here, is that my spiritual faith is the Bahá faith. And I grew up a Bahá. I left it for a long time.
Could you tell folks a little bit about what being a Bahá is about?
Sure. The Bahá faith believes that there's only one God, and that all the religions in the world are actually worshiping just one God. There's not 17 different gods. And that all of the different religions of the world are actually one religion. And this religion is like a gradually unfolding master class given to humanity from God. So it's updated by these spiritual teachers like Krishna and Buddha and Jesus and Muhammad and Abraham. And they come out down, through various points in times to give humankind spiritual lessons to help it grow and mature. And Baha'is believe that a man named Baha'u'llah, whose name means the glory of God, Baha'u'llah came in Persia in the mid-1800s, and Baha'is believe that he's the most recent prophet or manifestation of God. So it's all about peace and love and unity and all that stuff, all the good stuff. But this, why I'm here specifically, is that people don't really know that because the Baha'i faith started in a Muslim country, Muslims don't believe that there can be any new religions after Muhammad. They think Muhammad was it. So Baha'is are heretics, and they've been put to death by the tens of thousands since the early days of the Baha'i faith. And now they've gotten a little smarter, they don't just kill Baha'is. They do everything else to just hold them down and they don't let them get marriage licenses.
Sure.
They encourage them to just leave the country. They don't want them there. But they have very few rights. And this thing that I'm working on is called Education Under Fire. And you can visit the website educationunderfire.com.
Great.
And Baha'is are not allowed to go get a higher education because they're a Baha'i. So this is a violation of a fundamental human right. We don't think of this as a human right, but education is a human right. And so
the UN certainly does. The Universal Declaration does talk about
Yes.
education as a human right.
Absolutely. And, for me, this really hits home. I have a 7-year-old son, and, can you imagine for your students, like, if you were a Buddhist, or you were a Muslim, or you were a Zoroastrian, or a Hindu, or something like that, and if our government said, oh, if you're a Hindu or a Buddhist,
Right.
you cannot get an education, and you couldn't go to BU, you couldn't go to Bunker Hill Community College, you couldn't go anywhere.
Right.
So what the Baha'is have done, which is this really incredible story, is they've started this kind of underground university called the Baha'i Institute for Higher Education, or BIHE. And they get professors to volunteer, and they do mail courses and internet courses and secret courses in basements and in bedrooms and stuff like that.
Is this global?
It's just in Iran, but they do have professors from outside all over the globe kind of helping out. And now that's been declared illegal, and the professors have been locked into prison, and the students as well, and all the computers and books confiscated. So we're trying to spread it. The reason we came to Boston is we're spreading the word among academic institutions, because one way to help is to have BU and other universities recognize the credits of the young Baha'is in Iran who have completed their course of study through the BIHE,
Right.
And to have those credits recognized so that they can get their degrees and practice medicine or accounting or history or whatever it is they want to practice.
Sure. So what do you say to those folks who make the claim that we don't guarantee an education as a right here in the United States, and there are or are not any connections to that here, and we shouldn't be worried about that until we can worry about education here in the United States?
Well, I think there's a couple questions that you asked me there. I think a frequent thing that I get told, because I've done some work in Haiti and stuff like that, and people are like, why are you helping the kids of Haiti?
Right.
You got poor, starving kids here at home.
Right.
And it's like, well, you know what? The earth is my home. Humanity is my family. Back in the early days, it was like people had little tribes, and they're like, why are you helping someone over in the other tribe?
Sure.
Our cave needs all the corn it can get.
Right.
And then it kind of expanded, and then it was towns, and then it was cities, and then it was states, and now it's like America. Well, here in America, it's like, well, I'm a world citizen, So if people are hurting anywhere in the world, that's part of my business. It doesn't matter if it's it doesn't need to be in my suburb of Agora Hills, California, or Western United States,
Sure.
or United States. So that's one thing. In terms of education, there's a difference between, like, giving everyone a free education, whether they want it or not,
Right.
and withholding the right to get an education from someone who wants to get it. And Baha'is believe that education is a spiritual prerogative. Like, education is really highly prized. It's like food. This would be like a government saying, like, you can't buy any food, to a family because of your religious beliefs.
Sure.
And then that family grows a little garden and starts growing their own vegetable. And then the government comes in and bulldozes the garden and says, nope, you can't do that either. It's like, no, you have the right to nourish yourself. You have the right to nourish your body, and you have the right to nourish yourself if you want to get an education. If you just want to be a bus driver, not get an education, and that's cool with you, that's fine. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people who want to learn.
I also watched a bit of the trailer, and there was a former teacher in the Institute who said, this is about denying me the opportunity to be a human being, the education in and of itself. And I had never thought about it that way, but sort of this whole notion of what it means to be human flows from education in and of itself.
Yeah.
So in addition to maybe the pressing for the acceptance of these courses here in the States or anywhere, What else do I do as a young person, as a college student, as a young person in the States? What do I do, and why should I be concerned about this? How do I get involved or engaged in this conversation a bit more?
Well, excellent question. I think that, number one, I think we in America, we have it really good here, and we shouldn't take anything for granted. And the fact that you can go up the street, you can go to a community college, pay a few $100 and learn, or you can go to a fine institution like Tufts. No, I'm just kidding. Like BU.
Tufts is a fine institution.
And pay a few more 10 grand or whatever and get a certain kind of education. Like, you shouldn't take that for granted, because that's just not available all over the world, and in a lot of places it's really severely restricted. So that's one thing, and I think that encourage your university, encourage this dean and other deans to learn more about the persecution of the Baha'is in Iran, and persecution and violation of human rights everywhere in the world. And it's funny, because I've been doing a lot of stuff with Amnesty International, and they use this word activist a lot. They say, "Oh, you're an activist," and it's like, I think we're all activists. We're just, some of us are a little more inactivist than activist. You know what I mean?
Talk to me a little bit more about that.
Well, there isn't a difference between being an activist and not being an activist. Everyone is an activist. I mean, if your landlord's treating you unfair and says, "Hey, you can't park your bike right there, and I'm taking away your deposit," and that's unfair, and you stand up to your landlord, well, you're an activist. You're standing up for injustice in the world, even on a really small scale. So the idea for all you guys watching is to I prefer the word humanitarian, because it's kind of a little bit more global in reach. And activist to me kind of seems like taking on the system.
Sure.
And a lot of times it is the system, but a lot of times it's not the system. A lot of times it's just
you and me.
Yeah.
Right.
Or just waking up people's hearts to a problem, and just uplifting the world and making the world a better place. I think we're all activists. We just don't know it yet. We're all humanitarians, and we're all artists in our own way. So I would just encourage everyone to do that. I think more specifically, let's try and get BU to offer course credits for the graduates of the underground university in Iran, the BIHE, and maybe provide online classes and online teaching. You could go online and teach maybe with a Persian translator. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but all of that information can be found on the website educationunderfire.com.
All right, very good. And can you talk to us going forward? I know you'll remain an activist about a whole lot of things. You'll remain active, whether it be about Haiti, whether it be about this educational question or issue. Some other things we should look for you being engaged in out there, or other things you'll push us to say, hey, here's where I'm going to be in the next few years.
Right. I just I love having these kind of discussions. I'm so glad you have this podcast, and I just am about, just with Soul Pancake, it's kind of turning into a production company now, and we're doing stuff for the Oprah Winfrey Network, and we just got to deal with YouTube to have a dedicated premium YouTube channel. And our goal is to uplift and educate in new, fresh ways, explore the human conditions, explore life's big questions.
Very nice.
So it's just, I just want to, in my own life, just engage with the world and engage with people's hearts and increase the dialogue. And then through Soul Pancake and whatever, charity work or whatever stuff I'm doing, and it's doing the same thing.
Very great. So look, we got to wrap this up, and it's been great to meet you, probably on a level where we don't get to meet for people like you, who are engaged in real wonderful things in the world and trying to make the world better. And I love what you say about trying to engage the questions that are big, that have been out there in our lives. So thank you very much.
Hey, Dean, thanks, man.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, very good.
All right.